everybody, and welcome to episode 201 of the True Potential Do More With Your Money podcast. My name is Greg Lang. I'm the Operations Director here at True Potential. I'm joined by three of my colleagues to help me get through a bit of a recap of December in 2023 in a nutshell. So, joined by Rebecca Henderson, Rebecca Wright. I haven't quite changed the name yet. Head of Client Servicing, Jamie Sexton, Director of Client Servicing, and David Reid, Head of Group Applications. So, three very senior people with me today, all heads and directors of various roles. And I think really just to sort of start off with a big number, Jamie, and I'll bring you straight into the podcast today. 411 million of new business into True Potential. Just break that number down for us.
Yeah, I think it's really important to emphasise this, Greg. So over the 12-month period in 2023, well over £6 billion worth of clients' money invested by True Potential advisors and clients, etc. And I think it's really important for us because every pound that we do invest for a client, we take very seriously. Whether someone's got £1 or £1 million, that's important to that client, and we have to take that with the utmost seriousness, and that's what we do. And I think that £411 kind of way I see that now is we've helped some clients save a bit more, whether that's for their retirement, whether that's for the goal that they've set a specific objective. We've been able to do and assist with that, and it's a really important thing that we do here at True Potential.
Yeah, and we're at 28.6 billion in total, which is a big number. If you've ever tried writing that down, David, it's a lot of zeros. And 507,000 clients, which is for me a big milestone. It's over 500,000 people in the UK trust True Potential with their pensions and their investments.
And the key to add to that as well, Greg, is there's obviously four people in this room who make up that 507,000 clients in terms of investing our own money and trusting the products that we look to promote to our clients. It's just as important. I think if it's this classic case, if you work at a garage, whether it's Mercedes or Ford or whatever, if you're not driving that type of car, it probably doesn't add the integrity. But everyone here, without exception, invests with True Potential. All my pensions investments are with them, and I think that's really important in terms of trusting Jeff and the team to look after our money.
Yeah. And Rebecca, your team help most of those clients logging in using the apps and the technology, and we had just under 800,000 logins as well in 1 month, which is a fantastic number. I think could be more. Will we get to 1 million logins in a month?
I think so. I think we're heading that direction, aren't we? I think that the key thing is so that you do have the team there if you need any support. So perhaps you're not the most tech savvy person and you've not yet utilised the apps or the websites available. But there's a team of people there who'll happily take some time and guide you through it. And there's no cost for that, but they'll set up an appointment and walk you through.
I think it's key that the websites and the app logins that we talk around, there's some big numbers there for December, as you said, Greg. And I think this is how, you as a client wish to choose to engage with your investment, whether you think it's important for yourself to log in on a more regular basis or log in once a month. But having transparency and having opency via the apps and the websites is something important to us. We've spoken many times over the last 12 months in terms of how often you should log in, especially when you see the volatility that can happen over a period of time. But I think it's having that transparency and open. And what I would say to all clients that are using their applications, etc., it's important to, when you are logging in, if you want to log in daily and see your valuations, it's just to understand that it is a long-term investment. And the chances are if you log in now and then log in at a year's time, you might have a different feeling about logging in now and then tomorrow, because you will see you won't sort of experience those ups and downs as more. But it really depends on who you are. So as an example, I log in daily. I think I do for other reasons in terms of making sure everything works nicely, etc., and experience what clients experience. But I think it's worth just considering that this year is your resolution, maybe, for when you're looking at your investment, is how you want to engage with True Potential, how you want to engage with your app, etc. It's all there, it's all transparent. There is other information in there. And I'll give one last plug, is it's worth, if you are filling out your tax returns, etc., there's all the data is available in your application, so it can be really useful for clients on that basis.
Should have filled your tax return in by now at the time of the record.
You would hope so.
You never know. There's a few people do it late. And we're talking about apps and logins and stuff, David. Just, I'll take us back maybe 5-6 years ago, and we had a mobile app and we had a website as well. And, usage of the website was far greater, but we've seen that culture change almost over time. And with your role, you've obviously overseen a lot of the work on the app and really the change in client demand for how they demand technology and use it. Is that?
Yeah, no, I think it's twofold really. I think True Potential as a principle is very much mobile first with the technology, because we understand what the client wants in the sense that the convenience of being able to take an app. Like everybody carries a mobile phone with them, to be able to press into your app and see all of your information in one place. What we've worked really hard on over the kind of recent years is the feature parity between web and mobile. So whatever you can do on web, you can do on mobile, often mobile first these days. And I think we see the rewards of that now in terms of the increased usage of clients, but also clients becoming more familiar with the information that's in there. So yes, you can go in and you can see your portfolio valuations, your contributions and what have you. But actually there's a lot more in the app than just your valuation. You've got your documentation, you've got things like rewards and impulseSave and those features. And whilst we talk a lot about the increasage of usage with logins, it's actually the increase across the board in terms of all of those features being used.
Rebecca, your team are spending a heck of a lot of time walking clients through the technology and getting the most out. And linking back to what Jamie said, it's kind of, you can be guilty sometimes of logging in too often, but also probably like me, guilty of not logging in often enough to understand everything in there. So what kind of things do the team sort of help clients with? Is there a trend? Does it vary?
So it varies, and I think in terms of how much you're logging in, it's very much personal preference, but that's a conversation that we have with clients at the start. We'll show them where they can look at their daily valuations, but some clients might prefer just to show them why they can kind of change it so they see it on a longer term basis. So maybe they just want to see monthly or look at the policy since inception as opposed to looking at it every single day. So there's a mix of that. Some clients want to go into a lot of detail on the site, so they'll want to know how their policy is being invested. They might want to go in and configure their personal profiles. For a lot of people, it's the general bits like logging in and where do I maybe find this document. So kind of the basic bits that you might expect. But it really depends client by client. Some people just want to know the value. Some people want to know all the ins and outs.
We've got impulseSave as well. Did anybody impulseSave in December, or did you all impulse spend buying loads of presents?
I impulsesaved in a completely kind of totally fluke, really good time that I'd like given kind of value hindsight now looking back. I just managed to time it right for myself.
That's often the best way, and that's impulseSave in a nutshell. The reason I bring it up, and I was surprised seeing this figure, but £10.4 million of clients' investment was impulsesaved into their investment. That's a fantastic number. That's money that would either be sitting in the bank or spent or, whatever that time of year. So that was clients interacting. And we say impulseSave, that means topping up an existing investment. What a fantastic number that is.
We can see, it's funny, we can obviously track this quite a lot within the Settlement Advice team, and we had a few clients impulseSave on Christmas Day.
And one of them, Jamie?
I wasn't actually, but no, we did. I just wonder, probably should call those clients and find out the rationale behind that to see it. But I'm presuming maybe it's money for Christmas, etc. And I thought, let's get this away now. It's quite interesting.
Well, it was a good December. It was a very busy December, wasn't it? I kind of, I've had 12 previous Christmases here at True Potential. This certainly felt like a busy one. Clients were very active, advisors were too. I don't know if that was the way the days fell or people were just feeling a bit more in the mood for engaging with their investments, but lots of positivity on that front. And Jamie, I'm going to jump across to you and David and Rebecca as well. Please jump in. But we've had a new piece of technology built in-house, tested in-house, launched in-house, and that's available now for clients to kick around, to use. I've done mine. I enjoyed it. This is our annual suitability review. So do you want to maybe just, one, explain why we have to do them, and then explain some of the changes we've made?
Yeah, I think from an annual suitability review, in terms of what that is, that's a review of a client and their investments on an annual basis. And it's effectively us just checking that the product that a client's invested in is still suitable for their needs and objectives. And it is quite important because changes in circumstances, that can happen during the year could affect whether that investment is suitable. So for us as a business, we want to ensure that all our clients are, still in the correct product for what they need. And you find for the vast majority of people where, you're saving for a long term, whether it's a pension or even ISA in certain respects, typically 5 years, very rarely that we see, changes to clients' specific needs, but it can happen, and it's important that we're aware of it, and that's what this suitability review is about. We've been doing annual suitability reviews for some time. Used to be manual in terms of the advisor would have to do that with an advisor manually. We then adopted a web-based approach a few years back, and I remember we sat down about a year and a half ago and said, right, how do we improve the experience for the end consumer? How do we really deliver value for our clients? And that's what this is really about in terms of trying to give a full review to a client on an annual basis. They can get value from it. And so what we've done is we've expanded it a little bit. So we talk a little bit about how their investments performed over the year, which we didn't used to. They used to be able to get that further side, but specifically, we look at things like income and expenditure. So looking at opportunities from have you got net disposable income? Is that something you could use towards your goal? And then we go into the nuts and bolts of each individual investment. So risk profile, is that still the same? These are sorts of questions that you would expect us to go through. So it's for us, the key thing is for every annual suitability review, we used to do it on policy level. So every plan that you had, so if you had an ISA and a pension with True Potential, you'd have to do it twice. It's now done at client level, which makes life a lot easier for an end consumer. But it also allows us to tie it in and just assess the suitability. So it's a great feature. There's a huge amount of effort and work went into that. From a planning stage in terms of what did we want to get out of this? What did we want our clients to do? How did we want to make sure that we assisted clients in terms of that service and to the actual end development of with David and his team in terms of building that proposition. When we launched it, obviously the 1st of January, 2nd of January technically. But what a difference for me. We've seen a large number of clients complete this already. I think last I checked, we were well over sort of 2,000 clients had already completed this. So well and truly in the sort of nuts and bolts of doing it with a wealth management perspective, wealth management hat on. But it's a really great bit of kit. It's a better experience for a consumer. It will add more value. I'm confident of that. Really, I'm confident of that. So if you haven't done yours, typically they'll be due on an annual basis. So don't worry, it hasn't come up yet. We're only on the look at the date now. Where are we? 8th of January. So your review will come up throughout the year. There's videos, etc. So if you haven't seen it already, don't worry. It'll be because your review isn't due yet, but it'll come out all the way throughout the year. Really excited about the value. I think just finally for me, the key thing that the difference that this review adds is this thing called an action plan. So the idea is at the end of the review, any further actions that can not necessarily change your risk or change your product that you're in, but any actions that may be useful for you and your circumstances will be identified in your site, and you could set them as many goals within the site. So it really is a great bit of kit. It took a lot of time planning, didn't it, Dave? But what a great bit of kit. So thanks to the developers and everyone that was involved in that.
Good fun building it, David?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite an interesting build for True Potential because similar to other features we've released over the years, as Jamie mentioned, we already had an annual suitability review feature of the site and the app, but it was very slim, and the business requirement at a high level was we want to deliver more value to the end user. So value to the end user in terms of the client, but value to the end user in terms of True Potential advisors actually servicing their clients. And as JB talked there around income, expenditure, goals and what have you, what that actually means to us as a technology team is integration across systems. So we talk about the client's account and their portfolio. So we're integrating back to our investment platform. We're talking about the goals. That's to VNext and the advisor-facing system. When we talk about income and expenditure, a client can input that themselves. The advisors put that into the fact find, but we also have an integration with open banking now where an end client can input their banking information and we can pull that information direct from the bank provider, whether it's one of the major banks or a number of the smaller banks as well. So from a business point of view, there's an exceptional amount of value being delivered there from a technology point of view. The way we do that is with the integrations across our existing technology estate and the build. So yeah, good one for Dev.
Links back to what Jamie said as well. We're all investors in True Potential. We're part of that over 500,000 now. Every member of staff, our auto enrolment pension scheme is also with True Potential. So all of the staff, here at True Potential, it's very much skin in the game, which means when we're testing, it's done real time. It's not just testing for the sake of it. It's a real time, getting into it. And a bit like the painter and decorator who never gets around to doing his own home. I was a little bit like that because I got an action plan, which was get your backside into gear, put more money away. And it does sort of get you thinking, well, am I saving enough? Am I not? Am I actually going to achieve this goal by just doing what I'm doing? So the action plan for me was something I set as my New Year's resolution to stick to, which is just when I can, little enough, and just put money away. And it's a good way to think about it.
It also, Greg, gives you comfort of if you don't have to do anything, that's great. So if the action is do nothing, that's still an action. And that's important to understand that actually you should be doing nothing. You're on track, or you're in the right risk profile, or, your expenditure etc. is correct. These are the key things that, just as a health check every year, it's worth doing. So I would implore any clients, if you've had the alert to come through, just clicking that, go through the process, and it'll add comfort to yourselves, but it'll also ensure that we, as your advisor, can really support and ensure that you are getting value for what we're doing.
Good. I'll be honest as well, I never done the old annual suitability review, so there you go. So I've already engaged for the first time with that. So
yeah, well, I think that's testament to some of the user interface and user experience work. The new annual suitability review is positioned very much around kind of your year in review, and it's a technique that you see across other software, things like Spotify for your music and things. Here's what you've done, and actually this is something you should be interested in, and it's presented in a really easy to understand format, which, as you say, you're not the only person. Obviously, we did the internal testing with the internal head office staff first, and there's a number of them came forward and said, actually, I didn't even realise I should have been thinking more about this. And the good thing about the action plan is it can be set up now, but you can revisit that time and time again over the coming months. So it doesn't mean you have to action everything right now, but what you should do is answer your questions right now and get that in place.
Client feedback's been hugely positive as well. What we were doing last week is speaking with some clients as they were going through the process, and every one of them just really overwhelmingly positive and giving compliments on sort of how much detail it was collected and how easy it was to go through.
Good. It's not all we've been building. I'm going to just quickly move us along to missing pensions. That sounds like, they're somewhere, but we've just walked past this in a way I think is a really fantastic tool. It's unique to the industry, and not just saying to clients, well, if you've lost your pension, go on the government website, good luck finding it. We take over essentially for the client. And that's twofold, I think. One is it's a good bit of work done by the team at head office in building up a department who are going to be running that, but also again more software built for both clients and head office to use. And I actually had a family member use this. Brother-in-law got in touch and said, I've had 3 or 4 jobs and I'm sure I've got pension somewhere. A couple of forms later and the team are underway. Who's going to lead the charge on this one?
Yeah, I think the famous pension, as you say, it's a business process that we've actually had within True Potential since about 2022. And since then, what we've been doing is building up that experience in terms of how do you find a missing pension. And as you say, there's the government website where you can go and you can, if you can remember your employer and the date, you can find out a list of potential scheme administrators. But then as a normal kind of person, you then have to contact these guys, which is sometimes easier said than done. So since 2022, we've been doing that internally. We've been building that team and that expertise in terms of how do you find a missing pension. Obviously, last year we were translating that to, right, we're getting, or we're good at this now. How do we bring that into the technology? And as Jamie was saying earlier, around kind of using our own technology. So The internal managed process is managed within VNext, within our campaign manager board, or the campaign monitor boards in there. But the next phase of release of that is, and how do we bring clients on board with this? How do we allow a client to initially kind of kick off that search? But once that's in progress, how do we keep the client up to date, and how do we gather information and again bring that across the stack?
It's a funny one, this, because, you know, in the title, missing pensions, like, you know, how do you lose your pensions? Well, I don't know the exact number, but the number of jobs that most individuals have over a lifetime, you know, can actually push to 12 or 15 in certain cases. And typically, even if you worked for a company for a short period, there may be something available there. And I think it's whether it's £1 or whether it's £10,000, you know, we've actually found 100 grand for one client. It's actually quite important in consolidating them potentially, if it's suitable, isn't a bad thing to look at. And I think for me, you know, this is something as an industry we've got to get better for clients in terms of making it simpler, because having 10 pension pots, especially when it comes to retirement, can be very difficult to navigate around. They're really difficult to navigate around. Where do you take the money from? And that's why you see consolidation as a key piece here. But if you look at countries like Australia and New Zealand, they have something called pot follow on, which is where as soon as you move job, your pension follows. It was considered back in 2012 when auto enrollment was founded in the UK, but never came to sort of light. But I really think it's important. And what I would say is, if you're younger and you've got pensions, get it in our site or get it in your site so you've got a record of it. If you're slightly older, you've had a few pension schemes and you're actually not quite sure where they are, give the team a shout and we'll take a look and see where we are. Consolidation might be the answer, it might not be, but actually at least you know where your pots are. It is a key thing. So it's a great thing we don't probably talk about, because we've done it for quite a while in terms of finding people's pensions for them. You just never know. You really don't know. And I think it's if it is something you're considering, and actually I worked at this place in this year and I think I had a pension, well, let us find out for you. It's okay.
You wonder, do people actually know that they've got the pensions as well? Because auto enrollment is a great scheme. It's got plenty of people saving for the first time. But I think there's certainly some members of auto enrollment schemes where maybe the employer hasn't sat down and actively engaged with people about it. And if you think maybe you're working part-time alongside studying or something like that, are you really taking that much notice to your pension? Probably not. But a few years down the line, it's a great opportunity now to try and find it.
And it's free.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to lose. It's not a no-win, no fee. It's completely free. As in, let us help you find your pensions, whether you're a current client, not a current client, it doesn't matter. We want to help people track them pensions down. So next up, I was going to say a buzzword, but it's two words. And I'm going to look more towards that side of the table. Me and Rebecca will just sit back and listen in to you two gentlemen talking about artificial intelligence. Now, I'm not going to be the first or the last person to say I'm sick of hearing about it, because every single company in the UK is now talking about, we've got AI. I know we've been using it for years and years and years in deep, dark parts of the system. So I was part of the team that helped launch our commission reconciliation system, which was programmed where overnight it was just doing some processing. It now does the job of 4.5 full-time members of staff. So it was a good bit of work, but that I can remember being a young boy when we built that. So, you know, it's not new to us. But actually, because of the advances externally with artificial intelligence, we now at True Potential are able to start looking at it in a bit more detail. But we'll not use it as a buzzword. We'll use it to help ourselves, help advisors, and most importantly, help clients. So, again, don't fight over it, guys.
As you know, I'm intrigued how AI is going to actually. I'm intrigued how AI is going to work in the world or in general in the next few or 4 years, because it's got some huge advantages in my opinion. It's also got some disadvantages, I think, that it can cause, especially when we're just about to enter some elections. So it'd be interesting how AI is used in that format. But I think for us, is how do you use AI to, I keep using this word value, but I think that's important for us as a business, for clients, is how do we give value to our end clients, and how can you use AI to give value? And that might be making it more efficient for our for our process and procedures, which I think we've already started looking at doing. But actually, can you can we do something using AI which can add value to a client? So there's rumours of going, well, can you make an AI financial advisor? I'm not quite sure. I think that would be a tricky one due to regulation, etc. I also think a financial advisor is a lot more than, I'm kind of being selfish here because I am a financial advisor qualified, but I think it's a lot more than qualifications and know-how. I think it's understanding, being a people person, being able to articulate and speak to an end client, being able to understand someone's circumstances, but also be able to add empathy and all these things that I generally believe are going to be difficult. But there's some exciting things we can do, Dave.
Yeah.
And you've seen some of them, but I think for this type of thing, you've got to take caution.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some exciting things we can do for end clients. I've always said technology and people is how industry should work. And we've done a pretty good job of that. But
no, you're right. And I think the buzzword of recent months has been generative AI, or kind of ChatGPT and OpenAI. And basically what that is the ability for the AI to be able to converse with the end client, to understand language and understand the client's intent, but also to play back information in a language that an end client feels most comfortable with. When we look at our technology, we talk about the benefit of the client app, the client site, and the fact that it's available 24/7. That's pretty unique. You can log in at any point in time and you can see the value of your portfolio 24/7. You can access all your documents, impulseSave, all those other features. Now, the very first kind of implementation of generative AI for us is bringing that into our support services. So we know whilst mobile apps are great, client websites are great for logging in, a common issue and clients have is, actually, I've just forgot my details. I haven't forgot my password. I've actually forgotten my username. That's a really obvious implementation of generative AI for us. We can have a plain text conversation with a client to go through things like security questions and gather the required information to then say, all right, great. We sent an email to something that looks like this address. It starts with a D and ends with a 5. Does that look like your email? And the benefit of AI for that, or benefit AI brings into that conversation, is that can happen 24 hours a day. So it could be midnight, you can't log in, but actually you can have a quick conversation and you can get the information you require quickly. So that's an example of a really simple intent. But as we progress through our support experience of AI implementations, you'll see more conversations like that. So you might have a common question that a client asks. Again, you can ask that in free text form over a chat to somebody and the answer's there. If that can't be quickly answered, we can pass you on to a support person, but actually for you as the client, you're getting an instant response. AI goes further than that. I think that's the common use case that everybody is talking about at the minute around implementing it into chatbots. Another example for us is where we have telephone calls with end clients. We can run AI across the top of those calls to understand the topics that the client discussed with their advisor. We can use it for quality control checking, but also follow-up actions and summarization. So again, to help improve or enhance our servicing of clients. But that's the kind of the headline for us, is we're not replacing staff with AI. The point is that we'll enhance and augment the service we provide using intelligence techniques from AI to help better that service.
Just stole me next line there, because I was going to say exactly that in handing across to Rebecca, who obviously runs the service team that we've got here at head office. And it's something we pride ourselves on, in that, yes, we've got apps, websites, technology, live chat, AI, etc. But take somebody like me who maybe just wants to pick up the phone and speak to a human, not a robot. Obviously, that's what we've got in abundance and more here in the office.
Yeah, we've worked really hard on making sure that there's a team there through extended hours. So weekdays for some time now, we've been working from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening. Just last week, we opened on Saturday morning, so we're now here 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. And it's really important that you can get through and that you can speak to somebody and that you can do that quickly. So the average answer time for getting through to the relationship management team in December was 25 seconds. We had over 6,000 phone calls and clients still getting through to us very, very quickly. And that's because you can't always speak to to AI. You can't always speak to a robot, and you certainly don't want to, when you call in, have to wait on hold for 20 minutes hearing sort of awful hold music and how important your call is. You just want to speak to somebody, and you want to do that quickly.
And I think that stat is just phenomenal. 25 seconds. I was, when we got the notes in advance of the meeting, I'm not saying I questioned it or doubted it. I don't have it. I've rang that line a couple of times just in front of friends and family to prove it when I've said this is how good we are. But there ain't many companies out there now you can ring and get your call answered as quickly.
It's funny, Greg. I just, as you know, I've got a man coming out to my house today to sort out a certain television thing for us. I'm not naming the company, but I rang them and I got through their system, and then I got sent a link because I wasn't going to speak to someone with asking the same questions that I went through on the phone. And then by the end of that, then I got sent a live chat link, which ended up then converting to a WhatsApp link to then go through the questions, which all I wanted to do was get me the television box moved from upstairs to downstairs. It wasn't like a complicated thing. To then end up with a phone call. I went down a merry-go-round for a period of time. That's not good customer service. That wasn't, obviously I could articulate exactly what I wanted to do straight away. So that's why I think this is incredibly important, especially when it comes to money, because money is probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing to lots of people. And treat it seriously and, be able to speak to people quickly. It's really important for us in this business.
She's saying don't use Virgin Media.
Happy had a service, just wasn't happy with how long it took us to get through.
I don't think there's a sector getting it right, Jamie.
Yeah.
Never mind a company or what have you. Even when you buy something online, you get the best experience possible and something goes wrong. You just want to speak to a human. And I think that's something we'll not forget in making it efficient, slick, all the rest of it. But if you do want to speak to a member of the team within 25 seconds, your kettle's not even going to boil and you're already on the phone. I just think that is phenomenal. What else did we do? Jamie, we done 3,500 emails, 4,000 calls and 500 tickets with our financial advisors. So they're still keeping us busy.
I think so. And this is, I think the key to our industry is that we're very aware that, there's an end client at everything. So if an advisor calls you or needs content, etc., that's equally as important as a client calling you, because the chances are they're calling you about a client. So, you can see the numbers of high levels of deals that we're dealing with. But I think it's equally important to speak to an advisor within a short period of time as well as a client.
Good. Have I missed anything else off? It was a busy December, but
Very busy.
Sounds like we've had a very, very busy December. Might take some time off, really.
Busy January as well.
Busy January as well. That's good to hear. Good to hear. Well, let's just wrap up on the sort of charity side of it, which I thought was, again, a fantastic year just in wrapping up the charities. In total, 13 charities, where between True Potential and the Harrison Foundation, which is a partner in True Potential and a shareholder, over £1 million raised, which is a, pat on the back, I think, all around. But the December charity, which was Cash for Kids, which is obviously a charity that we've supported year after year at that time of year, and who's going to explain
You've got bad knees because of it now, Gregor. So
a couple of years ago, I ran 1,000 miles for that charity, so I'm a fantastic cause, but I can't run anymore. So I done the park run on Saturday, and I just about made it with a bad knee. So there you go. But it Cash for Kids is a charity, as we know it. It essentially puts a present under the tree for a child that wouldn't normally get one. It like all the charities we support, we try and make sure it makes a demonstrable difference. It's not just supporting a set of trustees at the top where you can't quite follow it all the way down to making a difference. It's a real on the ground charity. What I like most about it, £10,500 raised. What a fantastic number. Thank you to every member of staff, advisory, and indeed client, because I noticed some of our clients were sponsoring as well, which was good. But also we had the Christmas tree just out in the reception, which had hundreds of presents underneath as well. So it was a real difference, which I always think is especially at that time of year, good to make a difference.
It's an amazing charity. It really is. I think I said at our staff meeting on Friday, I've witnessed my wife working in schools, the benefit that can show. even just giving one present to a child, it's an amazing charity. I think when you did that run, and we did a quick run to the warehouse where the toys were being stored, when you were doing for charity, it was, bigger than this building, wasn't it, with toys? It was amazing how generous people can be, but what a great charity.
A quick run which ended up being a half marathon there and back, so that was... I
told Greg it was 4 miles in there, 4 miles back. I was probably slightly wrong. It was 7 miles there and 7 miles back.
So at the end of a year of running 1,000 miles, that's just what you need, bandaged together. Well, thank you, David, Jamie, Rebecca, as always. I think very insightful. To any of our listeners or viewers, thank you again for staying the cause. Do remember to like and subscribe for more content, and thank you for all of your support in 2023, and here's to an even better 2024. Thank you.